Hey everybody, welcome to my home studio for this demonstration. For this next assignment, I want to show you a technique that I kind of came across a couple of years ago that I really quite like. It's for me, it's a much more therapeutic approach to making pottery, simply because you don't have to score and slip anything together. You don't have to cut out your slabs. You don't have to roll coils and blend things together like that. What we're going to do is start with a solid piece of clay and then carve the inside of the clay out to create our pot. Now here's my awesome graphics. The term we use for this is Kurinuki. It's a Japanese word meaning to make hollow. So we're simply starting, like I said, with a solid piece of clay, and then we're going to use some tools, some specialized tools to start hollowing it out. But looking at this though, you know, right now I just have a chunk of clay right out of the bag. And what I like about this assignment is that I can make a pot that looks different than any other pot that we've made, because we don't have to roll slabs and we don't have to add textures to the slab. We can add texture and create the form with a solid piece of clay first. So the textures we come up with can be a little bit different. So what I'm going to do first though is just pound this into, I'm going to keep it somewhat square, but I want it to get a little bit more narrow at the top. I could slam this down on my table to help out, but then my tripod would tip over, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, a little bit more. All right, so naturally I've got this little, U shape on the bottom. And I think I might continue to play with that idea and actually make that into my feet for the bottom of my pot. That's cool. And then I'm going to use this stick to start adding some texture to it. So like I say, if I'm making a coil pot or a slab pot, you know, this kind of texture would be really hard to create without having like seams where the two slabs hook together. But here with this approach, because I'm just going to hollow this out after I've made the texture, I can put any kind of texture I want to on there. Okay, so that's one idea. Anyway, pretty cool texture there. This other idea I like is to just take a wire tool and start cutting away pieces of the clay. Better look and see what I'm doing here. And creating different angular type cuts. I could even use like this little paint scraper to create some angular cuts as well. And it creates, you know, I guess somewhat of a, like an organic rock kind of a shape, which is kind of fun. I kind of like the wire tool. Makes a little more random cuts to it. Let's slice some of this off in here. So what I'm thinking about is just kind of repeating that kind of a texture, but having some kind of circular kind of shapes and some long skinny shapes as well. So I'm playing with a little bit of variation, but they're all kind of similar shapes. And all this clay that I'm cutting off, I want to keep that. I'm going to put it inside this bag. I'll add some water to it so it doesn't get too dry. And all the clay that I carve away from this, I'm eventually going to use again. Okay, so there's an idea that I might continue to play with. Here is one more. I took this rather large comb, and any kind of texture that you want to create on this clay is good. And I just kind of ran that texture, that comb through the clay to create this very out of the ordinary texture. I still want to have somewhat of a foot look to it. So I'm going to use the back side of the comb to add that foot in there. But that's another organic looking kind of a shape that I really quite like. So I'll continue playing with that idea. So there's really no limitation to what you do when it comes to creating the texture of your clay. But here's one I'm going to keep playing with. Okay, this one I carved a while ago. You can see it kind of almost looks like a rock, you know, shape. I did take my wire tool and I cut through the top, and I'm going to create a lid in this one as well. So at this point, this is pretty firm. It's been sitting out, you know, for a couple hours, and I'm not going to ruin the design by grabbing the clay anymore. It's that firm. But as I open it up, the inside is still pretty soft. So what I'm going to do now, and you can see I even carved a little foot on the bottom as well. What I'm going to do now is start using my carving tools to start to hollow this out. And what I need to do is hollow it out so that it is about, let me just draw a line here. So we kind of know how much we have to carve. We want the walls to be about 1/4 inch thick. So you can see that line I carved. I've got to hollow all of that out right there. Now at first it's going to go pretty fast. I'm just going to take this round loop tool and start to hollow that out. Nice big swaths of clay. Again, you're going to take this clay and I'll eventually put that into my bag. I'll spray it down so it doesn't dry out. But a couple things as I'm carving. This part, it's really easy to carve. And notice I got really close to my 1/4 inch line. I don't want to cut into that line, so I need to be careful. Even though it goes fast and it's fairly easy, I want to be careful that I don't carve too much away, because it's easy to carve too much. So I'll just keep carving. Again, I'll put this clay into my bag, give it a spray. Eventually, I'm going to get to a point where I need to use a smaller loop tool, but it won't be for a little while. So eventually I'll probably use, I do have this loop tool, more of a triangular shape. I've been using this circular shape, more triangular shape to get into corners. But at some point I'll probably start using this smaller loop tool to get down into the narrow parts and to really refine the shape. Now I'm going to make a lid for this. What I have to do is create a little lip on the inside of my rim that'll fit up inside of here. So I've also got to start to carve this part away as well. And I will carve that away until it fits around that little rim. So I'm going to keep carving, and I will come back with the second video and show you how to clean up the pot, how to refine it, how to add a little rim to it so that the lid fits on nice and tight.